Hello guys and welcome to a new episode. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating our own ARP like Alesso and Steve Angello from start to finish. So we're going to be making this as we go. So I'm going to try and make it as basic as possible, but I'm still going to stick to the roots. Before we get started though, I did take a break from pretty much music in general this past week. I finished my semester in college, and during college I had a lot of finals. I was studying, but at the same time I was working with sound design companies on creating banks, and also some artists reached out to me for help on certain sounds for their tracks and everything. So it really clogged up my my brain. I couldn't really think straight for a while, so I decided to take a week break, and now I'm back with a fresh brain. And today what we're going to be doing is creating this ARP that has been requested by many of you numerous times. So all the ARPs are going to have this thing in common, and we are going to go through them. So first thing I want to do is open Silent 1. We're going to have an init patch. Very boring saw as we always start off, but we're going to make this sound really interesting. So first thing first is 8 voices for your saw. 8 voices straight away is going to make the saw sound a little bit more heavy, a little bit more reinforced. So it sounds a little bit more united. So this is our unison. So 8 voices. Now we're going to do the standard detunement. So we detune it to liking. I like it there, so we're going to leave it there. And now we're going to go into our amp envelope A. Amp envelope A is going to decide, how the sound comes out of your speakers, or let's just say out of Silent 1, which will then be routed through all these things, and it comes out of your master and then out through your speakers. So the characteristics you put are really important. So what I'm going to do is increase release, and as soon as I do this, you're going to hear the sound become more, more like, oh, okay, I like this type of sound a little bit better. So now we have sort of like a saw, like a transy saw, straight away. Also, we turned the retrig off here, and I did that without telling you guys what it does. So pretty much what retrig does is it makes the phase start over again. So in general, imagine you're sprinting. You're gonna race, so you sprint, and that first takeoff you do is it's like the hardest part where you work, and then you sprint and you have your max speed. And after you reach your max speed, you're not gonna go like do another hard boom, So imagine the retrig being a restart. So every time you change a note, it's like you're starting your sprint over, so you start from the beginning. So in essence, when you have your retrig on, your sound's a little bit more punchy, a little bit stronger than when your retrig is off. Retrig off, we're putting it because we want our sound to be a little bit mellow, not too punchy. We go into oscillator A2, and what we're going to be doing is putting 8 voices, and we're going to put a saw as well, no retrig. And we're going to detune it a little bit differently. So we're going to detune less on this one. And straight away we're getting this kind of united sound, which doesn't really matter much because we're going to filter all of it right now. So the important part of making those ARPs is the type of filter you use. So we're going to be using a low pass for this type of ARP. And what I'm going to be doing is using a 24 dB type. By default, it should be like that. And all it's saying is that it's going to cover more sound than the 12 dB. And we're going to put the cutoff, leave it at 12, and no resonance. So we're going to put the drive up to around 9 o'clock just to make it sound a little bit louder, the sound coming out through the filter. So now what we're going to be getting is this. So our sound is heavily covered. So what I'm going to do is in filter control, I'm going to cover it more to around somewhere where I like it, where it sounds really mystical. So probably around there. And from here on, then it's preference. You can add some resonance if you want, but I choose not to for this type of sound. Maybe a little bit, 0.95. So it sounds really mystical, maybe something about to happen. But now we're gonna do the key thing in creating this sound, and this is the way I like to do it: is use an LFO. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna route the LFO 1 to our cutoff AB, or cutoff 8 to be more precise, and we're gonna put the rate at 116. Most of these ARPs that you hear are gonna be at 116. So it's in essence 116 is gonna be really fast, and then we're gonna put it at 1/8. In 1/8, what it's gonna do is it's gonna be a little bit slower. So right now, you kind of can't hear it really working because we haven't set these. So we're gonna increase the gain, and by increasing the gain, you're gonna increase the amount of it's gonna LFO this. And you're not going to hear right now because our black knob is the master. So once you start moving the black knob, it's going to go in correlation with the gain, and you're going to start hearing it. So we're going to put the offset a little bit back too. to around 0.76. And now we're going to increase our black one, which is our master gain. So pretty much what's going on, this LFO is being routed to this cutoff here, you see here. And what's going to happen is we're going to increase it. So we're going to open it at a rate of 116. So what's going to happen, it's going to open, close, open, close, open, close at a rate of 116. And then the amount it opens is going to be up to you on your gain, and the amount to the right your black knob is facing. So as you can see, we have that ARP. Sounds pretty cool. And this is going to be the Alesso type ARP that you hear in his track Under Control. This is the effect. This is how he achieves it. Okay. So let's increase the cutoff a bit. So you can see how it works. Now we're going to route it to cutoff AB. So let's increase the rate. Okay, so that's going to be the Alesso ARP. And now we're going to do the original ARP, all by changing the wave in our LFO. So once we change it to a saw, you're going to start hearing the standard ARP that you guys like. So we're going to leave this at 116 and open it up. And that's how we get that type of ARP that still has that kind of pad that you guys like a lot. A lot of you guys were asking me, oh, how do you make that pad from Tommy Trash or Steve Angello that's in the breakdown, but it has that ARP? This is the way you do it. So underneath what's going on, it's the LFO's working really fast, and you get those but at the same time you remember that the original sound is being covered by the filter, so pretty much, you know, you still have that aspect of your sound there. And you know, then you can make it a little bit more mystical, lower the gain a bit. Yeah. And there you have it. Now let's say you want something, you know, where you're like, okay, I kind of just want the ARP itself. I don't want to hear this mystical crap or whatever. So what you're going to do is to get rid of the LFO. So we're going to get rid of that. And pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to use the mod envelope instead of the LFO. So what we're going to be doing is routing this to cutoff AB. So right now this is how it sounds like. We want to get rid of that. Okay, so we want to put it down around here where you can barely hear it. And we're going to put the cutoff all the way up. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this up. Okay, there we go. And then what you do is you activate the arpeggio. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it at a time of 116. And add some gate. So what gates is going to do is going to make it sound a little bit more like it's not closing a lot, so it's not going to be as punchy. And then we can have it at 1/8 if you desire to. So it's just a little bit slower, kind of like that Mod 5. Now let's say you like the way this is sounding, but you think it's too punchy or too much sound is laying out, so you kind of want it to sound more like Demo 5, let's just say. So we kind of lower the filter a bit more on the black one, the amount being let out. And there we have it. So pretty much we have that mystical sound. We have the ARP without that mystical sound in the bottom. But if you, again, like I said, if you want that mystical sound in the bottom, we're going to be using LFO 1 for doing that. And you can change the way the sound is let out through a sine, through a saw, through a triangle, and so forth. So this is how you create that kind of Demo 5-ish, you know, ARP, progressive ARP. But let's go back to what we had. So what we're going to do is get rid of this. And we're going to be going into our LFO 1, where we're going to be again routing it to cutoff AB with the saw at a rate of 116. And we're going to put a gain here. So I like how that's sounding straight away. So we're going to put some reverb straight off the bat, and I want it huge to get that kind of breakdown feel. And there we have it. So we have that. We're going to apply some EQ, one pole. And as soon as you put the EQ on, what happens is your bass and your treble increase by 7.5 dB at the frequency of 3.5 around there, and at 115 around there. So pretty much instantaneously your sound's going to get louder. So what we're going to do is increase our treble a bit to get that brightness out. And finally, add some delay. 42 delay time to the left, 1/4. This should be about around right, but we're going to be putting a high cut to get rid of that high. And when you put a low cut or a high cut on your delay, when you activate these, it's just activating on the delay that it's being released. And there we have it. And pretty much from here, you can go a lot of ways. This is where I would end the tutorial and say, you know, that's it. But just a few tips so you guys can create your own ARPs, because it's not that hard, as you guys saw. You can mess around with distortion, which would give you harder. You can see fold back, clip, decimate, but really little decimate, and a bit crusher. And maybe add a phase, sir. Chorus and so forth. So this is all on you guys. But as you saw, the Alesso one from Under Control, the only difference is instead of using the saw as your LFO wave, you're gonna put into a sine. And before I end this video, the differences between these, just look at the pictures. The sine is pretty much a gradual, and it goes as a sine, so up down, while a saw is pretty much, you know, straight up, goes straight down at a certain slope, and our square or our pulse is stay at high value and go straight down to low value, and pretty much there's no in between. There's no ifs or buts. You're either high or low. So pretty much those are the characteristics that you're most likely going to be using. And from there on, guys, it's all up to you guys to create your own saws, your own ARPs. So hopefully this was a very helpful tutorial, and I hope, you know, you guys enjoyed it and followed through. Sadly, there's not going to be any preset for this. But in the next video, I'll make sure to create a famous sound from a big track. I just wanted to show you guys how to create those ARPs, because I got about 10 requests this past weekend, and I didn't even count the ones that I got the previous months. Anyways, guys, it's good to be back, and I'll see you guys next time.